super close to home if you're navigating call. It's the idea of the tragedy of performing happiness. A world that is just shinier and way ever been. Everybody is dancing online, traveling online, laughing online, and seemingly winning at life, right? But behind those bright, there is this secret exhaustion and anxiety that this generation are carrying. A generation that's so connected, emotionally drained. Well, that leads us to a question. What actually became pick? Because I bet it's a highly relatable scenario. It's 11:47. You upload the perfect picture, beautiful smile, the absolute, and within minutes, bam, hundreds of likes, comments saying, "Oh my gosh, you're glowing." Nobody sees what definitely is a post is that just 15 minutes staring at yourself in the mirror thinking entirely empty inside. Which brings us on hiding in plain sight, the new face of. The core tragedy we're unpacking here is that young people today are desperately learning how to look happy way before they actually be happy. There's this quote from the Joker movie that just perfectly captures this modern youth experience. He says, "The worst part of having a mental illness is to behave as if you don't." And man, is that true. You might be exhausted, emotionally confused, totally overwhelmed with a constant pressure. But society constantly demands, keep smiling positive, don't be weak. So students just become actors and social media simply becomes the stage. So what does this actually look like day to day? Because today, depression doesn't all stereotypical sadness. Often, it looks like constant scrolling, fake laughter in the dining, oversleeping through your early morning classes, overworking in the library, or just emotional numbness. Notice how all of that looks exactly like everyday college life? Everyone is hiding their pain. Everyone assumes they're the only one suffering. It creates this deep, entirely invisible isolation. Let's move and put a face to this concept. Meet Rohan, the proxy for the student. So Rohan is 20 years old. He's the best, always active in the group chats, always posting the best memes, absolutely thinks he's living his best life. But every single night, headphones, sits in his dorm in total silence and just feels this unbearable heaviness. There's no massive visible tragedy in his life, just ness. One night, a friend notices he's been quiet and asks, "Hey, why are you?" And for a split second, Rohan almost tells the truth. You feel completely lost. But instead, he forces a smile and gives the answer, "We've literally, nothing bro, just tired." Think about how often you've heard or actually said that exact phrase. That simple comment, so much emotional confusion that students feel they just can't explain to their peers. Because really, how do you explain a pain that deep? It's honestly fascinating how pop culture sometimes captures this dynamic better than we do in real life. Take the anime One Piece, for example. Everybody loves Monkey D. Luffy because he smiles constantly. But look a little closer at the characters around him. Nico Robin smiled while deep loneliness. Sanji constantly joked around while hiding severe emotional pain. Brook literally laughed his way through decades of complete. We connect so deeply with these stories because fiction sometimes gets our secret emotional isolation much better than reality does. And directly to the root of all this exhaustion in Section 3, the global comparison trap, and why our brains are just completely drained. The harsh reality here is the sheer impossible scale of the problem. Modern culture actively rewards performance over honesty. Think about it. If you post a major one celebrates you. If you post your struggles, crickets. People disappear. So young people internalize a really dangerous lesson and only show your highlights. And slowly, everyone just becomes emotionally lonely together. The thing is, humans were never biologically designed to compare themselves with millions of people. In ancient times, you compared yourself to your local village. But as a college student today, you're comparing yourself to celebrities, billionaires, professional athletes, influencers, and absolute geniuses, literally before you even eat breakfast. No wonder your brain is exhausted.
Historically, the shift is just staggering. Think of someone like Vincent van Gogh. Today, the whole world admires his paintings, but during his life, he struggled deeply, yet he suffered quietly in private. Modern youth, on the other hand, suffer publicly while actively pretending they're completely fine online. Real vulnerability feels way too risky right now. People are terrified of judgment, of being called weak, and that forces continuous, terrifying performance of happiness.
Which brings Section 4, editing our reality, the performance of perfection. Okay, if you've ever seen the movie The Truman Show, you know Jim Carrey's character lives inside this totally fake world where everything is meticulously controlled for an audience's entertainment. Well, modern digital life feels exactly like that. Carefully editing our emotions, editing our bodies, editing our lifestyles, literally editing reality itself. And after years of doing that, people just forget who they actually are. But then, something unexpected happens. Imagine our guy Rohan decides to just unplug for one night. No noise, no distractions, no pretending.
The frantic, crazy pace of his life finally drops, and he experiences total, unbroken silence.
And in that silence, he comes to a pretty terrifying realization. It's a battle of visibility, peace. Rowan realizes he doesn't actually hate his life. What he hates is the constant comparison. He hates feeling like he's behind all his peers. He hates trying to be strangers on the internet. He realizes the internet has somehow made visibility feel significantly more important than his actual inner peace. So what's the truth here? It's all about reconnecting. And that requires real conversations, real silence, real goals, real friendship, real meaning. Students today aren't depressed because they have nothing. They're depressed because of the slow, destructive emptiness of losing connection with what is actually real in the world. Humans can survive a whole lot of pain, but emptiness destroys people slowly.
It's also super important to remember that this pressure to be flawless, it's a total modern invention. If we look back at the ancient epic, the Mahabharata, Karna was a mighty warrior who carried immense pain despite his incredible strength. And Arjuna literally broke down emotionally before a massive battle. Greatness never, ever meant emotional perfection. So if you are a college student feeling mentally tired right now, you really need to hear this. Being mentally tired does not make you weak, it just makes you human. So, how do we actually get out of this trap? Let's move to Section 5, the rebellion of being real, rebuilding the offline life. The crucial part here is taking action to rebuild. And spoiler alert, the answer is definitely not pretending harder or seeking more digital validation. Step 1, spend time offline. Step 2, create more than you consume. Step 3, talk honestly with real people. These are actionable, grounded steps for burnt-out students to find purpose outside of the algorithm. You have to stop turning your self-worth into metrics and numbers. Learn to just enjoy small moments again, because true healing often begins the exact moment the performance ends. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. We don't need attention. What we really miss is presence. There's a huge reason your childhood memories probably feel so remarkably peaceful to you. Back then, you enjoyed moments without needing to prove they happened. There were no filters, no likes, no audience. It was just life. What modern students miss most isn't the attention of their peers. It's the simple, uninterrupted presence in their own lives. We really have to take a step back and ask ourselves, why are we all pretending so much? If everyone around you in the lecture hall looks perfectly happy, that absolutely does not mean you are broken. Lots of people are fighting silent battles you simply can't see. The loudest smiles so often hide the deepest, most silent pain. We have to stop asking why everybody is happier than us and start questioning the performance itself. Let's go back to Rohan one last time. He finally stopped running from himself. The next morning, he goes outside early. No headphones, no scrolling, just the cold air and the sunlight. And for the first time in a really long time, his mind actually feels lighter. Not because all his exams or life problems magically vanished, right? But because he finally allowed himself to be emotionally honest. Which leaves us with one final, profound question to chew on. Are we actually happier today, or have we simply become better at hiding our sadness? Think about that for a second. What if the most genuinely rebellious act you can do in modern society isn't breaking rules or going viral? What if it's simply being emotionally real? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the tough questions, keep striving for what's real out there, and I'll see you next. Everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're putting on our philosopher's hats to really examine the exhaustion of performance and why, at the end of the day, we absolutely have to start choosing peace over our image. Okay, let's dive into this. Do you look happy, or are you actually truly happy? It's a pretty simple question, right? But honestly, it's a terrifying one to ask yourself. You see, the scary thing in life isn't sadness. Sadness is honest. Sadness is just a normal human emotion. The truly terrifying thing is when happiness literally becomes a performance. Today's society doesn't ask, hey, are you happy? Instead, society asks, do you look happy? It's a kind of subtle shift, but it completely changes how we live our entire lives. We've basically replaced a genuine internal feeling with a superficial external metric. And because of that shift, we find ourselves trapped in this incredibly dangerous reality. We're constantly curating vacation photos, posting gym selfies, giving relationship updates, sharing these fake motivational quotes. It's like everyone is just acting. Everyone's performing. And the absolute worst part of this grand play we're all putting on, we've gotten so good at pretending that even we don't know what we truly feel anymore. Maybe late at night, when nobody's watching, you suddenly feel just empty for no real reason. According to the script you wrote for the world, you should be perfectly happy, but deep down inside, something feels deeply missing. There was a time, not even that long ago, when happiness was just simple. It was talking with your family, watching the rain, or laughing until your stomach physically hurt. And get this, you did it without recording it. But today, especially for students and young adults, there is this immense, crushing pressure to curate a flawless online persona. Every single moment has got to become content. Every emotion has to become proof. If you're happy, you got to post it. If you're successful, you have to show it off. If you're in love, you have to convince total strangers online. We literally stopped actually feeling life, and we just started performing it. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly pop culture actually captures this dynamic. Think about the anime character Naruto. On the surface, Naruto smiled loudly. He acted crazy, did all these goofy things, and everyone just assumed he was this endlessly energetic kid. But inside, man, he was desperately lonely. He was ignored, he was completely broken. That loud smile wasn't joy at all. That smile was pure survival. It was a mask he wore every single day just to hide the immense pain of his isolation. And if we pull that anime example right back into our real lives, the parallels are honestly striking. A lot of people walking around today are exactly like that. Think about it. The funniest person in the room, the one with the biggest smile and the absolute loudest laugh, is sometimes the person fighting the darkest, most invisible battle all completely alone. They're just surviving through their performance. So the crucial point here is really understanding this stark distinction. On one side of the coin, we have performance-based happiness. This relies entirely on seeking applause, clicks, likes, and external validation. On the totally opposite side, we have authentic psychological well-being, which is all about natural joy and genuine internal peace. Guys, they are not the same thing. In fact, they're often completely at odds with one another. Performing for an audience requires flexing completely different mental muscles than actually cultivating genuine, unperformed psychological well-being. Think of this like a quick psychology exam review, and the results are pretty alarming. Psychologists warn us that something fundamentally dangerous happens when people constantly seek validation. First off, your brain literally forgets how to feel joy naturally because it's completely rewired for cheap dopamine hits from notifications. Second, your internal dialogue totally shifts. You stop asking, what makes me happy, and you start asking, what makes other people impressed? This is exactly why the constant search for external validation totally damages our natural joy. It's why people can literally achieve everything, money, fame, millions of followers, and still feel incredibly, painfully empty inside. Because here's the raw, unfiltered truth. Achieving outward success absolutely does not equate to internal fulfillment. We get these concepts terribly mixed up nowadays. We think if people are clapping for us, it means they love us. But listen, applause is not love. We think if people are paying attention to us, we're secure. But attention is not peace. And ultimately, performing a happy life is simply not the same thing as actually having a happy life. Let's look at someone who has reached the absolute pinnacle of modern success, Cristiano Ronaldo. Millions of people admire him. He has unimaginable success, insane fame, a massive legacy. But even he has spoken openly about how the pressure and the expectations just never disappear. Because when the whole world expects you to constantly smile and perform, you sometimes just lose the permission to be a normal human being. That is the ultimate curse of performance. The higher people place you on a pedestal, the lonelier you actually become up there. If we look back thousands of years, ancient philosophers tied happiness to internal virtue, not external validation. Gautama Buddha taught that attachment creates suffering, while today we are deeply, hopelessly attached to our image. Not our actual reality, mind you, but our digital identity. We're addicted to looking happy rather than actually becoming peaceful and pursuing that ancient virtue. And there is a profound difference there. Peace is silent. Performance is loud. Peace sits alone comfortably. Performance demands a constant 24/7 audience. That's exactly why Buddhist monks can sit quietly for hours on end, while a lot of us modern folks go into a full-blown panic if we go 5 minutes without a notification. And this brilliantly illustrates another great pop culture parallel. If you know the anime Attack on Titan, you know the story of people living behind these massive, towering walls, totally believing those walls kept them perfectly safe. But the tragic twist was that the real danger was already inside the walls with them all along. Our social media profiles and our highly curated personas are exactly like those walls.
I mean, everybody looks absolutely perfect on the outside, totally safe behind their digital walls. But the daily mental health reality, especially for students today, is very, very different. Behind the glowing screens, there is this invisible war raging. People are crying silently, they're drowning in this constant, endless cycle of comparison, they're overthinking every single minor interaction and battling intense feelings of worthlessness. The internal emptiness takes a massive, massive toll on our daily mental health, even while the outward performance continues flawlessly. Which brings us to a really deeply personal question. And I want you to ask yourself this honestly. Are you addicted to the performance? Because maybe society isn't the only one to blame here. Did your own happiness disappear the exact moment your life became a competition for proof? Maybe you don't post memories to actually remember them anymore. Maybe you're just posting them to prove to complete strangers that your life matters. Take a breath and just let that sink in for a second. This is the painful plot twist of our modern lives. The prison door, keeping you trapped in this exhaustion of performance, it was never actually locked. You just got comfortable living inside it. We are tragically complicit in our own mental exhaustion simply because we're terrified of stepping outside that cell and looking unsuccessful to a bunch of strangers. But here is the undeniable reality we all have to face. One day, your phone battery is going to die. The followers will disappear, the trends will change, and people will inevitably move on. And in that quiet moment, it's just going to be you, alone, face to face with your own mind. And that moment, that decides absolutely everything. Because if you cannot sit alone peacefully when the screen goes dark, no amount of success, money, or validation is ever going to save you or replace real inner peace. Like the incredible David Goggins has highlighted time and time again, you have to face your pain directly. Not escape it, not hide it behind an Instagram filter, but really face it. Because healing only begins the exact moment the performance ends. The moment you finally stop pretending is the moment you meet your real, raw, unperformed self. And honestly, meeting that version of yourself is terrifying, but it is also deeply beautiful because it's the only real path to truth. Let's move to and see how this builds into some actual practical steps. How do we reclaim our privacy and heal quietly? Well, here are 3 daily habits for authentic contentment. Number 1, go outside without posting it. Just exist out in nature for a bit. Number 2, laugh without recording it. Let the joy just be a fleeting, beautiful moment entirely for you. And number 3, work on yourself silently. Disappear for a while. Heal privately. Grow quietly. You really don't need to broadcast your evolution to the entire world. Because at the end of your life, nobody is going to hand you a trophy for looking happy. The real winners in this life are those rare individuals who genuinely felt alive. The ones who smiled naturally, loved deeply, and lived honestly, without ever feeling the need to turn their very soul into content. Remember this, real happiness doesn't scream for attention. It just breathes softly in the background. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Some people spend their whole life trying to look happy, while a few brave souls choose to become peaceful. Please don't ignore this wake-up call. I want you to define what true peace means for you down in the comments, and tell me, when was the very last time you felt truly happy, without needing an audience to see it? If you know someone silently struggling behind a fake smile, share this explainer with them. Choose peace over image, and until next time, keep learning.